to Red Shirt Day at the Arkansas State Capitol. I'm your state president, Odessa Darrow, and now I want to know who's here. If you're able to stand, please stand or simply raise your hand. Anyone here from Hub 1? That's Northwest Arkansas. All right. What about Hub 2? Right here in Central Arkansas. All right. Not a bad turnout, Hub 2. Good job. Okay, what about Hub 7? Given your time and talents to be part of Red Shirt Day, where we remind lawmakers of the power of AARP. Did you know we have nearly 300,000 members in our state? That's quite a large voting bloc, concerned with making the lives of people 50 plus better across the natural state. April is also Volunteer Appreciation Month. And so I want to pause for just a moment and remind you that the work you do is so very important. We'll be hearing an update in just a bit about the work that has been happening here at the Capitol. But I don't think it's a spoiler to share that we have so much to celebrate. And it's all made possible by the dedicated volunteers who table at events, stand in solidarity regarding legislation, and work to make our communities better places for people of all ages. So congratulations on an AARP volunteer. You are that volunteer. We appreciate you so much. And now it is my pleasure to turn the microphone over to our State Director, Ashley McBride. Ashley.
We all love her, don't we? I am Ashley McBride, State Director for AARP Arkansas, and I'm so excited to be here today and see all of your smiling faces. Before we get into why we are here today, I want to remind you about AARP Arkansas's mission. AARP Arkansas is an innovative champion for people 50 plus through impactful advocacy, community engagement, and education that empowers people to choose how they live. Who knows the end? As they age. And that's so important because all of your voices matter. As Ms. Odessa said, every age matters. So why are we here today? AARP Arkansas, we have an annual Red Shirt Day at the Arkansas State Capitol. And this is one of our staple events. And we do this because we are advocating on behalf of our nearly 300,000 members across the state so that you can learn about the priority issues that impact Arkansans 50 plus. We are here to create a unique opportunity to gather a large group of advocates to connect with your legislators and get involved as the boots on the ground in your communities. This year, AARP Arkansas has been hard at work at your state capitol, fighting unfair utility rates, supporting small business owners, and proposing a retirement savings plan for those employees of the small business owners. And let's not forget supporting proposed legislation for caregivers. There are over 420,000 caregivers that are providing support for family members, and they are not receiving tax credits or any benefits. And so we're here to change that narrative. As such, we released our Arkansas Small Business Survey in March and collaborated with lawmakers to share the importance of creating a solution for small business owners that makes retirement and saving for retirement easier. Additionally, several volunteers like yourself have testified, have called legislators in your districts, and at least 1,000 others took action from the comfort of their own homes as e-activists. No matter who you are, where you are located, what you do, whether you have a current profession or your former career, you have a place here at AARP Arkansas. We want your voices. We have many things for you to be involved in. Thank you so much. Now we will have our newest Associate State Director for Advocacy and Outreach, Chris McCoy, come and tell you more about all of the advocacy engagement that we've had over the past year and so much more to come.
Thanks, Ashley. How's everyone doing today? All right. Let's see if I get that a little bit closer. So first of all, thank you all for coming out today. I know it's a little bit nutty in the legislature today compared to last year. So as some of y'all, most of y'all probably know, last year, my very first day on the job was Red Shirt Day. That's how I was baptized into AARP. So it was a learning experience for me. Loved every minute of it, and I'll tell you what, today is much different than last year. A lot more activities, more bustling. So thank you all so much for fighting for parking spaces outside, for making the effort to be in here, because it's important. The reason why it's important is showing up matters at the end of the day. That's how you know, that's how you let people know your voice, that's how you let people know what you want, that's how you instruct your representatives to ensure that government represents what it is that you would like to represent. So, all that said, some of the stuff that we've been working on over the last year, well, kind of go back, I didn't actually introduce myself. So, my name is Chris McCoy, I'm the Associate State Director, Advocacy and Outreach for AARP Arkansas. We have a good bit of activity that we've been doing, and I'll go through that one at a time, but one thing I want to kind of set the stage for the next 45 minutes to an hour. Committees are going on right now, and at least two of the representatives who are going to come up here and speak are in committee at the present. So they are going to get up here in between the votes and talk specifically about legislation that we're working on. So asking them to be a little bit flexible in that as we move through the day. Also, I'm sure you guys have seen the lines of high school kids that are moving through today. So there's a decent chance that it's going to get busy through the rotunda at some point. So your patience is appreciated here as well. And last thing that I want to kind of point out is for those of us who can stay after we wrap up here, 1:30 in the Senate, they will be doing a Red Shirt Day resolution. It would be great if whoever would like to join us up there in the gallery, come on up and be honored by the Arkansas Senate for that as well. So, what have we been working on? We've been busy, I'll tell you that. Fighting utility rates, as Ashley said, work and save. We had a bill, HB 1335, and it is making progress at that point. We had a small business survey that we put out, and for the first time in a long time, had a very, very good response with luncheons and things of that sort that we were doing to really talk about the need for work and save, the need for alternative retirement options in the state. As you can see, if you look around, these are some of the banners that have some of the statistics that we pulled down from the small business survey that we presented to the legislature. 81% of Arkansas small business owners are concerned that not enough are saving for retirement. 79% small business owners would support legislation to establish a retirement savings option. So all good things. But it's a complex issue. In order for something like Work and Save to work, not only does it have to pass the legislature, but the treasurer has to be on board, the secretary of state has to be on board, constitutional offices have to work together. So sometimes it's not just as simple as going up, having this great idea, pushing those bills through. It is a fight. Sometimes it stretches over a single legislative session. Sometimes it's a longer fight than that. Good news is we're moving forward with where we are in Work Save, further than we have before. We're going into a study bill next. What that does is it brings forward the Treasurer's Office and Secretary of State's Office with AARP, and we hash out the best part of the bill that we possibly can, and then the following session we continue to move forward with that bill. And it's very, very good news that we are getting that kind of traction there. Another one that we're working on that is possibly in being heard in committee as we speak is Caring for Caregivers Act. That's House Bill 1076. That is the caregiver tax credit that we've been speaking about. What is it in a nutshell? $2,000 tax credit, and that bumps up to a $3,000 tax credit if the individual being cared for is either a veteran or has dementia. It is modeled after some other states' bills that have passed legislature similar to Arkansas, so it's all good things with that, right? That's the kind of relief that caregivers do right now in the state. A piece, when you talk about fraud's ever evolving. There are people that are thinking of new ways to remove you from your money without your consent. One of those things is crypto, specifically crypto ATMs, crypto kiosks. And the country as a whole is kind of grappling with how do we handle this? You know, what do we have to do to protect consumers from this sort of fraud? The Securities Department of Arkansas, in partnership with AARP, stepped up for that. And we're working with them to amend the Uniform Money Services Act. I want to make sure I got that right because I've been mispronouncing it the whole time. And what we're doing with that is basically we're putting some parameters, some protections, if you will, on crypto kiosks and the fraud that comes with it. Currently, if someone were to go and send money via a kiosk, once it's out of your account, once it's deposited in that bank, it is gone. You cannot claw it back. What this does is it starts to put those protections on you. The Attorney General's office is in favor of these types of protections. It allows them to be able to actually help consumers where they can from that standpoint. So we're working pretty hard on that. It is making its way through the Senate currently, and it should be almost imminent for passage within the next week or two. Why the next week or two? Because we're coming close to the close of the session, which is going to be toward the end of April. Another bill that we're working on is a food insecurity bill. It's House Bill 1920. What this essentially does is it provides grants to area food banks across the state to be able to provide programs to those who need it. Think Meals on Wheels, food pantries, things of that sort. With budget cuts, with the cost of everything going up, it is essential that more funding goes toward these programs to be able to support community members. One other thing that we're working on, I told you guys, it's a list, right? It keeps on going. But gift card fraud. Currently, there are very few limitations on how gift cards are utilized. And I don't know if anyone's ever bought a gift card and checked out, got home, and then realized that it's spent. And you have to go back to the store, because sometimes they'll work with you. A lot of times they won't work with you. What this does is it begins to address that issue a little more robustly. And it is making its way through the Senate as well currently, and should be close to passage as well. So all great things on the state level we're working on, and we're pushing down the line. Federally, I'm sure every single one of you have gotten emails, talked about Social Security endlessly, and there's a reason for that, because it is vitally important that your representatives know where you stand on Social Security. I cannot stress that enough. In fact, I cannot stress that enough for any of the legislation we work on, because if they don't hear from you, they won't know what you're thinking. So this year marks the 90th year for Social Security. This summer, we're going to be having some events. Ashley is going to be hosting a party over at the AARP offices. It's going to be lit. So definitely want to come out for that. That's not the only thing we're going to be doing. We're going to be doing a series of events and a series of things that highlight Social Security, the need for Social Security as we look at this anniversary date. And it couldn't be any more important than it is now. And I know we say that every year. It's because it is true every single year, every time. We're certainly going to be working on other federal issues as they come up. I bring up Social Security because that is the thing that is pressing the most at this point. As we start looking through what does the future look like, how we impact legislation. As they work through the budget process in Washington, it's important that when you guys do get emails and it says, hey, press this button, let your legislator know how you feel. Take the 10 seconds, 15 seconds to do that. As Ashley said earlier, the e-volunteers, critical. Showing up in person, the number one thing you can do. But contacting them is vitally important as well. So please take the time whenever you do get those emails to engage. If they ask you to call, make a phone call, send an email, send a call. Make sure they know what you think. So locally, and this is one area that I'd like to expand, and I'd like to make sure that AARP is hearing what you guys are seeing, hearing what you all want to see in your communities. How can we engage? How can we help? How can we partner? So when you see a need, something that maybe we can address, we might not be able to do it all. And it really depends on where we're at, where we're working on the time, and so on and so forth. But we need to know what the needs are in communities, and we won't know unless you tell us. So if there's a way that I can help you engage on a local level, either county, town, cities, I would love to do that. Any way that I possibly can. So you all have my contact information. It's as simple as sending me an email, sending me a voicemail, send me a text. Big texter, love it. So if that's where you want to go for contact, that'd be great. But we've got some great things that are coming up on too, right? Some of these ideas, they take a little bit of time to get through. We're still talking about age discrimination. It's still something that we want to do, and it is something that we're working with legislators currently, how best to approach that, how best to actually get that into a bill and move forward. So that's going to be something still on the horizon that we're looking at doing. Making sure we finish the fight for work and save is going to be vitally important, and we're well on our way for that. And then, as other issues pop up, we're going to address those as well. So, obviously this year is the legislative session. Next year will be a fiscal session, so it's kind of a little bit more laid back in terms of what we can and cannot advocate for as a city and change of. But that doesn't mean we do not build to the following session. And that is a piece that I cannot underline anymore at all as well. So all of this to say that we're building up to some great things coming down the line, finishing off some stuff. I appreciate every single one of you for taking the time to come out and spend some time with us. And I'd love to get to know you a little bit better if I can. But with that, I will wrap up here. I know I just saw Representative Warren come in, and I want to make sure that I give him the mic while I still can. Representative Warren. And so some of you probably already know legislation that we've been working with him on. Incredible gentleman to work with. I cannot say enough nice things about it. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, and welcome to the Arkansas State Capitol. It's a beautiful place. So I so appreciate everybody coming out. You are, I hope you know that you're a force. We are driven by constituents. And when we hear from constituents, it means something. And when we hear from masses of constituents, it means even more. So let me tell you that in 2015 was my first attempt to do the work and save, which we have labeled it Arkansas Save. In 2015, we were so very close to getting it done. And my hope is that we have a mechanism through the state where people who have employers who don't offer a 401k retirement plan, that the state offers you a mechanism that you can contribute, have money withheld from your regular paycheck at your jobs where they don't offer something, have that withheld and put into an account through the state so that you can have money saved for retirement. So I've been fortunate to work for companies that always had a retirement plan. And I'm very thankful for that. I'll tell you the story that really sold me on doing this. So I'm at church one day, and I ran into this sweet little lady, and y'all have to allow me to stop this. My phone rings into my, my phone rings into my cell phone. And my hearing aids, I'm sorry. I'm an old man, I have hearing problems. But I ran into this lady at my church, and sweet as could be, and then that afternoon, I run into her at Walmart, and she's greedy. And I said, what in the world are you doing here? And she said, oh honey, it didn't take me long to realize that my Social Security was not going to be enough for me to live on. And I said, oh my goodness. I said, didn't your employer have a retirement plan? She goes, oh honey, he was doing everything he could just to pay us to work. I said, okay. And I was about to walk off, and I decided I'd ask a question that you're not supposed to ask a lady. I said, ma'am, do you mind if I ask you how old you are? She goes, I'm 72. And she goes, and I really don't know how much longer I'm going to be able to work. My health is not good. So I said, okay. I said, I needed to hear that. So my goal is to have a mechanism for people that don't have a retirement plan at work to be able to have monies drafted from your paycheck and put into an account that starts saving for retirement. People always think, oh, it'd take forever. But forever comes one day, and you're actually amazed at how much you've been able to save and how that money turns over and over and over. And then you have a stream of money when you do get to retirement. Because too many people today retire, their Social Security is the only income that they have, and it is not at home. So we got started a little bit late this legislative session, so we didn't get anything accomplished. Well, we did. We got things accomplished, but we didn't get a bill through. So you have my word, and we're going to work with the Treasurer's Office. They're very interested in this. They want that as part of their financial literacy program that they want to roll out that will help people understand that they need to save. So I will be back, God willing. I get elected one more time. I will be back, and I will work diligently at the beginning of the session to get Arkansas saved through so that there's a mechanism for all of AARP and others in the state to save. Thank you. This lady just keeps popping up. I see her everywhere I go. I'd love to.
So, Representative Hudson is trying to get up here to join us when she has a break from committee. She's actually on the committee that the caregiver tax credit is moving through. I believe today is the day where she has to be down there. She has 3 bills, so sometimes when we do these things during session, it gets a little chaotic, and we're trying our best to adjust to that. But with that being said, we'll move on to our next speaker. And some of you may know Kathy Webb. She is a former legislator here in Little Rock. She is a current member of council of Little Rock as well. Long history of advocacy, and I'm absolutely delighted that she agreed to come up here and speak to everybody. She has a wealth of knowledge, and we'll give her a warm welcome.
Thank you, Chris, and it's a real pleasure to be here today. I'm also one of the almost 300,000 card-carrying members of AARP. So I join you and was particularly interested in the list of bills that you talked about, and I have also had the privilege of working with Representative Warren for many years, so I appreciated that update. What we do is hard. It is very hard. And I want to talk to you for a few minutes about the why and the how. The why we do what we do and the how we do what we do. Some of you may have seen some photos from late February when Governor Sanders signed a bill that made universal breakfast a reality for 400,000 plus Arkansas children. 400,000. And some people thought that's great, that's wonderful. I want to tell you that was 18 years in the making. 18 years. But the why of that is because of the 400,000 plus Arkansas children who cannot afford breakfast or lunch and who will not be able to focus and thrive on an empty stomach. That is the why. Yesterday, Representative McCullough got a bill out of the House with 53 or 54 votes that would allow a mechanism for Arkansas to address food deserts. And I would imagine that all of you know what a food desert is, and we have them all across the state. 2 years ago, Representative McCullough filed that bill, and when Representative Warren was talking about his bill, it reminded me of 2023, when Representative McCullough filed a food desert bill, and it went directly to interim study. And we spent the last 2 years building alliances, working with state agencies and others to make sure this session we move forward with that. And I'm happy to pause and let Representative Hudson come and talk because I know she's got to get back to committee. So I will pick up.
Good morning, everybody. I want to thank you all for being here today. My name is Representative Ashley Hudson, and if you live in West Little Rock, I may be your representative. I appreciate all of you coming down here today. We've got so much legislation that I know affects you and your families and your community, and it is so valuable to have your insight and your input. You'll see lots of us wandering around the Capitol. Please do not be afraid to come up and approach any of the legislators. We're mostly nice. And we're all really interested in getting your input on issues that are important to you. We work for you, you're our bosses, and so it's so important that you tell us what you want us to do. One piece of legislation that I'm very proud of this session that I've been working on and hope to get passed is some legislation that would help give you a tax credit for expenses that you have from caregiving. So if you're caring for a loved one in your home and keeping them from having to go into assisted living or a nursing home environment, this tax credit would help defray some of the costs of those expenses. And that's something that we've been working on, that we're trying to get out of our Revenue and Tax Committee in the House right now, to try to give many of you who are operating as caregivers right now for a spouse or a family member a little bit of extra relief. Part of the reason I brought that legislation was also to thank you. This is not easy work. I know that the cost of caregiving is certainly expensive financially, but the emotional toll and the time that it takes away from other activities, from other family, and from being able to provide a living for yourself and for your family can really have an effect on you. So for those of you who are in the middle of a caregiving journey, or for those of you who have been part of that, thank you so much for your service to the state, and thank you so much for your service to your families. It means a tremendous amount. And as all of you know, in Arkansas, we care very much about our family units and very much about taking care of each other. So again, I appreciate all of you being up here today. I appreciate you taking the time. I know it's not easy to park here, so it's certainly a bit of a challenge anytime you come up to speak to us. So I appreciate your time, I appreciate your attention. I look forward to seeing you down when you're in the house. And be sure to wave when you see me down there. But I'm grateful to each and every one of you for everything you've done to the state. So thank you so much. Have a great time today. Thank you.
As advocates, one of the most important things is it pays to be a little flexible. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to roll with it. And I think I remember sort of where I was talking about Representative McCullough's bill on food deserts that got out of the House yesterday. Tomorrow, it will go to the Senate Public Health Committee. And yesterday, a couple of people came up to me after a session and said how exciting was that we got it out of the House. That's the project for me. It is not enough. We need to get it through public health tomorrow, and we need to get it through the Senate because it's a very important issue. Yesterday, I was also up here to be in House state agencies to speak on a number of bills that have to do with voting and voter registration. You may know that Arkansas ranks at the bottom in voter registration. We rank at the bottom in voter turnout. We rank at the bottom in most restrictive deadlines to register. We rank at the bottom in the way we deal with absentee ballots. And what does all of that mean? That means that less than 40% of the people who are eligible to vote in Arkansas make all of the policy decisions for you and for me. I was here yesterday with a group of 11 prepared to testify on the bills that would have expanded voter registration, that would have expanded access to voting. And I will tell you, every single one of those bills failed. They failed. So yesterday we had a success and we had some great disappointment. But we are in this for the long haul because we're in this for the why. 2 years ago, the legislature passed a bill that eliminated the reduced price copay for 55,000 Arkansas children. We have been working on that, and it meant that they were able to receive breakfast and lunch at no charge. We were the first southern state to do that, and people across the country said it was a miracle. But what we said was we're going to take the next step in 2025 and go for universal breakfast, and we did, and people thought that was a miracle because the why, as I mentioned earlier, are those 400,000 plus children, and we had to keep going no matter how hard the work was. So what is the how? How do we do it? It is hard. Yesterday, some of that group of 11 had never been here before. They had never been to a committee hearing. They heard these very persuasive arguments about why we should make it easier to register to vote. And they did not understand when all of those bills failed. But we have to remember the why. All of the Arkansans in your mission, you talked about empowerment. And we have a responsibility, in my opinion, to work to empower Arkansans, whether it's voting, whether it's an IRA, whether it's credit for tax givers, for credit for caregivers, tax credit, whether it's housing. We have a responsibility to do what we can and to take our stories into advocacy. A lot of people don't like to be called advocates. And when I ask people, are you an advocate? People will say no. But we each have a story. And when we share that story, we are advocates. So what do? We develop relationships outside the session. We don't start when the session begins. We work on this all the time. We deliver briefing books and papers to all of the candidates who are running for Arkansas. When Sarah Sanders said she was going to run for governor and Chris Jones said he was going to run, I prepared a briefing book and met with both of those candidates on the issues. Do the same thing with people running for local office, for Secretary for state legislature, for the Senate, and for the House. We know something about the people we're going to meet. We know what their interests are. When I was in the legislature, I knew a lot of people were interested in football. And I found out if Warren won, or Smackover won, or Nashville if the Scrappers won. And I had icebreakers to start off when I talked to other legislators. We celebrate our wins because this is hard. And so as some people were celebrating getting the food desert bill out of the House, I celebrated for a minute and then went on to thinking about tomorrow when it goes to the state Senate. By celebrating our wins, that's one way that I don't get discouraged. So regardless of whether or not the two main bills you've been tracking are going to interim study this year, that gives us an opportunity to educate and to build support for next time. How else do we do it? We look at groups like AARP, who has excellent tools to take the stories we have and to help us translate that into messages for our legislators. We have a story and we have data, and we take those two things together and we use that to make our case for our bills. We find allies. We find allies in unexpected places. I don't know all of you, but I can tell you this. Most people would not assume that Governor Sanders and I would be allies. But because of that allyship, we moved forward and we got universal breakfast. Because we don't assume that you don't have something in common with somebody, no matter how wide that gulf might feel. And I know that I would say this if she was standing here, and I know that she would agree that we're not the two folks you would think of as natural allies. But because of those 400,000 children, we bridge that gulf and work together. So don't assume that you don't have something in common with pretty much everybody. Be succinct when you're talking to the legislator or your city director, because we have maybe a handful of issues as AARP members, and our legislators are juggling 50 issues. I mean, yesterday there were more than 75 bills on the House calendar. And those are an awful lot of issues. Practice your spiel with each other, because a long, drawn-out spiel is not what's going to be effective. There's a time for that, and it's not when we're trying to grab a legislator as they're running from committee to committee. And also appreciate everybody who's in your group, regardless of whether or not they're as engaged as you are. You are very engaged because you found that parking place. You took the trouble to come up here today. You wore your t-shirts. I wore my red coat. But a lot of other people help us. And rather than saying, why isn't Mary doing more? Why isn't Johnny doing more? I appreciate what Mary does and what Johnny does, even though it might not be quite as much as I'm doing. I still appreciate everybody who is engaged. Because in the last nature survey that was done of cities, it was shown that fewer than 30% of people who live in the city are actively engaged in work to make the city better. So I appreciate you, and I appreciate each person who helps me on the issues that I care about, regardless of whether or not they do it at the same level that I do. And take care of yourself. We've got to take care of ourselves, because this is hard and this is long. It's easy to get discouraged. In 2016, I found 2 quotes that I grabbed onto, and they are as relevant today as they were when I found them in 2016. And the first one was Maya Angelou. You may encounter many defeats, but you must not be defeated. And Eleanor Roosevelt, the future belongs to those who believe in the beauty of their dreams. We are hopeful, we are resilient, we are passionate about housing, about breakfast, about voting rights, about caregivers, about our tax credits. And we believe in the beauty of our dreams, and we can never give that up. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much for taking the time to come out here. It was a great speech. I'm glad that you're able to share that with everybody. Everyone, would you mind giving resilience is kind of the key to sanity when you work in legislatures, I think. And the quotes remind me of something I used to have hanging over my desk. I don't know if y'all know who Jim Valvano is, but the Jimmy V Foundation, he used to be the coach of North Carolina State, had that crazy run back in the 80s, won national title. But he had this quote that he gave at an ESPY award ceremony that said, "Never, never, never give up." And that hung over top of my desk for years, and it was that constant reminder of why are you doing the things that you do? What are you fighting for? What are you trying to improve? Is it your communities? Is it your family? All the above. And just never lose sight of the end goal and what it takes to get there. To that end, from a community standpoint, if there's anything that I can do to help you all engage in your local communities, what I can do for AARP to have an outsized impact there and change your community for good, please work with us to make sure that we're able to all do that. So we're a little bit ahead of schedule right now, and I was told by my good friend Richard, who is over you down here, that if it's possible to have folks gather up near the Senate and the House chamber doors about 1 o'clock to go ahead and move into the chambers for the resolution. That would be great. So it's going to adjust similar to what we're doing now. So, Mandy, if this works for you, maybe we go and take a picture outside right now if everyone would like to do that, and then we'll come back in and meet with legislators and come down and then go to the